So we're going to go over practice 1.3 extension number 11. So the problem says that I have a minimum value of 2.5 minutes and a maximum value of 5.5 minutes. So I need to create an equation that gives me both of these as my answers. So right now we're doing absolute value, and when we do an absolute value of a function or an equation, we always ended up getting two answers for our x values, right? And so basically what this problem is saying is it's telling us that we already know our two answers. So we know one of our answers is going to be 2.5, so x is equal to 2.5, and the other answer is 5.5, okay? So we actually know the answers before we even know the problem, and our job is to create an equation, some kind of absolute value that gives us these two numbers as our answers. So I need to set this up in some way. So first I'm going to just assume that x is going to be on the inside of the absolute value. And then now I need to logically think. I'm going to be looking for something to either add, subtract, multiply, or divide. And then I'm going to get the same answer for both cases. So we're going to figure out those numbers. First, let's figure out, are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide here? In order to figure that out, first let's just kind of set up both of our scenarios. Let's set up both of our x values and kind of see what needs to happen. So I know that I need 2.5 and 5.5. So I need to do something to 2.5 that when I take the absolute value I get the same answer as when I do the same thing to 5.5. I get the same answer. So first let's talk about the operation. So if we add something, let's think logically. Is there any number I could add to both of these that would give me the same absolute value? Well, the answer here is no, because if I add numbers to this, if I make these bigger, there's never going to be a scenario where I end up with a negative answer inside my absolute value. I need a negative answer because I need the negative answer to turn into a positive answer at the end. That's the only way to get the same answer at the end here. So I'm going to rule out addition. Let's go to subtraction. Is there anything that I can subtract from both of these numbers? The same number that I subtract from both of these numbers that would give me that. Well, if I subtract a big enough number, I could actually end up getting a negative answer out of either one of these. But I only want one to be negative because I need one of them to end up negative and the other one to end up positive. So I basically am going to subtract some number that's going to give me the same answer to both of these equations. So now I'm thinking about numbers that I subtract that will give me a negative answer on the inside here, because then that will eventually turn into a positive answer. And I need a positive answer here to end up still as a positive, okay? So the only numbers that meet this criteria, I can't pick a number bigger than 5.5 because then I end up with two negative answers, and this negative answer is guaranteed to be bigger than this one, so they're not going to be the same number at the end. So I want to pick something that's between 2.5 and 5.5. So let's just go through some scenarios. So the first number I think of between 2.5 and 5.5 is 3. So I'm going to use my pencil because I'm going to be erasing a lot here. So I'm going to punch in 3 and see what I get. Let's just solve it real quick. 2.5 minus 3 gives me negative 0.5. Take the absolute value, and that gives me positive 0.5. Okay, now let's check what happens over here. 5.5 minus 3 gives me 2.5. And taking the absolute value of 2.5 gives me 2.5. Okay, those answers are not the same. This is all matching up, but these are not matching up. Okay, so I obviously have to go bigger than 3. So now I'm thinking of a number that's between 2.5 and 5.5 that's bigger than 3. So if I go to 3.5, maybe we can try that and see what happens. Or I can just cut to the chase and show you which number it is. If you checked 3.5, you would get 1 here, 3.5 here. You actually end up getting 2 as your answer here, which gets us closer. But if I punch in 4 here, watch what happens. 2.5 minus 4 gives me negative 1.5. Absolute value of negative 1.5 is 1.5. 5.5 minus 4 is 1.5. Absolute value of 1.5 is 1.5. Okay, so now here I have, if I'm just looking at the back half, subtracting the same number and getting the same answer. So I can replace this and this with this x here. So I know that my answer is absolute value of x minus 4 equals 1.5. And that's the equation you were supposed to come up with for this. Here's the thing. This problem is not going to show up on the test. This is actually a challenge problem. This is going beyond what you should know for this chapter. So if you understand everything we went through, that's great. If you're still a little bit lost, this helps push your brain a little bit more and gets you a little bit more prepared for harder stuff later on down the line. But something that should make you feel at ease is that this problem will not show up on the test. There won't be a problem like this on the test at all. Okay? It's just kind of a challenge problem. That's why I'm giving you the answer right now. So make sure you have this down and write this down before you turn in this paper. Okay? Thanks.